Now, for those of you that may have already watched my Dalton Kincaid scouting report, you're going to call me a hypocrite here. And you know what? That's fine. And I deserve it in this case. I've earned the label. And you know what? Life is full of hypocrisy. It just is. That is life, is it not? I certainly think it is. But in the Kincaid video, I made more than one reference to, like, if you're talking about taking a tight end high, and the first thing out of your mouth is something in reference to their blocking abilities, you're not doing it right when it comes to the tight end position. And generally, I think that is absolutely true. The game has changed. Blocking ability is of secondary importance for a tight end at the NFL level. Especially if you're playing like modern offensive football. You want that over-the-middle intermediate threat to come from the tight end position. It's a nice added bonus. You like them to be able to block because it opens up the possibilities of what you can do on offense for sure. But at the end of the day, tight ends become stars because of their pass-catching ability, not because of their running ability. So you want to find guys first that can be great pass catchers. And one of the first things I'm going to talk about with Darnell Washington is his elite blocking ability. But it's also, I look at Darnell Washington, and don't get me wrong, I think Brock Bowers is a better NFL prospect. Like, if Brock Bowers was in this year's draft, he's a top 5 pick, right? And it's kind of a reflection of how I think the top of the 2024 draft is going to be much better than the top of the 2023 draft. But it's one of those situations where I talk about, hey, you got teams that could do a better job of getting the ball in the hands of their weapons more frequently. And I realized Washington, had to share the same position with Brock Bowers, so it was going to limit his opportunities. But it felt like you could have found a way to get him some more. Because Brock Bowers certainly offers a matchup problem. Darnell Washington does do. Because this dude is tall, long, and strong for a tight end. Like, if you didn't know any better, you would say, hey, put 30 pounds on, and let's talk about you playing left tackle. And based off of his blocking ability, it wouldn't be the most ridiculous thing in the world. Because he is a punishing run blocker. He really is, especially on the move. Like, if you're an NFL team, and some of these NFL teams I still think are a little, I don't want to say behind the times, they're kind of stuck in their philosophy, stuck in their ways. But if you view the tight end as being very important to your offense in terms of being almost a 6th offensive lineman on the field, there is not, and I repeat, there is not a better blocker from this tight end class than Darnell Washington Jr. It just isn't. There ain't nobody close to this young man. He is a fucking force as a blocker. I thought he was the best blocker on that Georgia front in 2022, if you ask my honest opinion. And shit, like I said, if crap doesn't work out at at frickin' tight end, bulk him up a little bit, get him up to 305, 310 in a year or two, and you might have a hell of a left tackle because he's a great athlete too, with size and length, strong, like fuck yeah. So yes, I talked about how blocking should be the first thing you talk about with a tight end, and then I did so with Darnell Washington. The difference here to me is when it is an elite skill, you got to talk about it, right? Washington can come in and be an elite blocking tight end from day one. Like if you're an NFL team and you draft Darnell Washington and you can't find a way on day one to put him on the field as a blocker, then you're a fucking idiot. Period. But there's more to his game than just that. He uses his length well to high point the ball. He's got solid hands too. So he's not as stiff as a pass catcher. He's got above average long speed and athleticism for a tight end. Yeah, again, certainly not in the Bowers classification in terms of specialness of athlete for the position. But Darnell Washington is like 6'7", 260, 265 pounds. He can move. right? Like, he can legit move. Now, it does take him time to get up to top speed. I'll give you that. But, man, I look at him as, again, another one of those examples. Like I talked about, I think, in the Quentin Johnston scouting report, was you look at these guys and you say, how the hell can you not come up with ways to get the ball in their hands more? And it feels like however they utilize Darnell Washington at Georgia, he could make an impact. He could make a difference on that team. And when he was leveraged as a blocker, he made a difference. He made an impact. And when he was used as a pass catcher in the limited opportunities he got, he could make a difference. He could be an impact there as well. And in terms of other like flaws in his game, I think he could block with better hand location and knee bend, but I'm talking about hand location and knee bend with a fucking tight end. Like, this is the type of scouting report that you'd be talking about for an offensive tackle that you'd be maybe taking in the second round of the draft. As a route runner, as a pass catcher, his routes lack suddenness. His breaks can be slow and a bit long. But again, 6'7", like 265 pounds, and he can move some. He's not a total slug by any stretch of the imagination. So he's kind of unique to me in terms of tight ends. Like, maybe size-wise, who would he stack up to? Maybe Donald Parham that plays for the Chargers. But Parham didn't have, or Parham, depending upon how you pronounce it. Like here in Virginia, apparently they say Parham, whatever. But, yeah, like, this dude's kind of a freak. And when I'm thinking about tight ends that you would explore, like, investing a first-round pick on, I'm big on doing so for Dalton Kincaid because of his pass-catching ability. I look at Washington and say you could bring him in from day one, and he's elite as a blocker and perhaps a little underrated as a receiver. Like, he could be a bit of a value there more than what you would initially get. It might take some time to get that out of him, but he could be a real weapon for you. He could be a real matchup problem for teams. Yeah, let me put my 5'10", 200-pound strong safety or free safety up against a 6'7", 260-pound long-legged motherfucker. Let's see how that goes. So, yeah, like, here's a guy I look at that, to me, should be a first-round pick in this draft. It's a good tight end class, especially at the top, but he kind of stands out to me as one of those guys that should go in round one.